So I was going to do kind of a coding challenge video today where I made 2048, the game where you know the one. And I started making it, and I was explaining what I was doing, my thought processes as I was going through the challenge, and I got about halfway through the video. And then I realized the video just was terrible. And the reason it was terrible is I wasn't explaining what I was doing very well. And that then got me thinking about something that my uncle told me several years ago about what it means to have an idea. And I know this kind of seems tangential to 2048, but hear me out. So what he said is if you can't articulate your idea, you don't have one. And that was huge for me. That literally blew my mind when I heard it. So a lot of people that I knew at the time at school and with the various extracurricular things that I was doing, they thought they were really smart people. And by some degree of measurement, they were. They were great at doing things themselves, but you put them into a team environment and they couldn't ever articulate their ideas to other people. Everything was locked in their head. And that just results in a really bad team experience. And for anybody in the world, and specifically for software engineers, because that's what I know about, working in a team is basically your entire job. If you can't work well in a team, you're not a good software developer. Doesn't matter how good you are at writing code, because you will never build a company on your own as the sole software engineer. And if you're part of a bigger team and you're not a good team player, you're not worth anything to the company. So why would they keep you around? They wouldn't. So coming back to what my uncle said and all of these other people that I knew, okay, the fire's put out. So where were we? Something about teams. So bad team players are people who think they have ideas, but they can't articulate them, and therefore they just don't have ideas in the first place. Because ultimately, a business is just a group of people who've got ideas, and they're trying to bring that idea to the rest of the world. Fundamentally, a startup is just a group of humans working towards some goal of manifesting their ideas into the real world. And then hopefully, somewhere along that process, they can make money. And that's what makes it a business. But if you're part of that group and you have lots going on in your mind, but you can't articulate it to other humans, how are you ever going to bring it into the world? You'll never do it because you can't even communicate it to another human. So if you can't articulate your ideas, you don't have them. So how does all of this relate to a half-made 2048 video? And this kind of brings me to an overarching idea of my entire philosophy for creating this channel and for creating the Hungry Turtle Code website, which is I want to teach people. And why do I want to teach people? I mean, that's a massively complicated question, but ultimately, there's a few things I can break down. So one is, I think that everybody should have access to knowledge, right? Like, I live in the UK. I've been very fortunate throughout my life to have opportunities for education. And there's other people in the world who just aren't as fortunate. And I want to be able to present that to them if they've got an internet connection. And over time, more and more people are getting online. So all they need is an internet connection and they can take my educational content and learn about computer programming. And if everybody in the world who knew something started doing that in their particular industries, we would have a workforce of people all over the world with a huge set of skills that can really push us to solve massive human problems. So that's one reason. But the second reason is a bit more selfish, which relates to my whole point of if you can't articulate your ideas, you don't have them. By forcing myself into a position to teach people on the internet via a camera, where I can't even interact with you one-on-one, it has to be done where I think it through and then present it, and then you consume it on the other end asynchronously. If I have to do that, I'm forced into a situation where I have to articulate well, because I don't have the feedback one-on-one, where I say something, I realize you don't understand it, and then I have to reword, and we can have a discourse that way. But if I'm doing it via a camera like this, I don't know how you're reacting. So I have to articulate well in the first instance. If I don't, you're not going to understand, my audience isn't going to grow, and my dream of educating as many people as possible will never come to fruition. So I have to learn to articulate. I have to learn to represent my ideas into the world. And if I get good at that, here on this channel and with my plan of education, it helps me as a selfish individual in pursuit of financial goals in business or in a company that I'm working with. Because I'm better at articulating ideas, then I'm better as a team member. And if I'm a more valuable team member, I'm worth more, so they'll pay me more. Or I become worth more so I can get better contracts at different companies, or I can create better ideas in my own businesses. And this leads me round to the topic of this video, which is you should take that idea and you should apply that to your life. You should want to try and teach people, because in doing so, you can see it in one of two ways. You can think about it as if you're doing a selfless act and giving your knowledge to another person, and that's valiant, and nobody can take that away from you. That's a perfectly good and noble pursuit. But you get the secondary benefit that not a lot of people talk about, which is you become a better communicator. You have more ideas by virtue of the fact that you can articulate them better. And in software, there is this perpetuated stereotype of this sort of introverted, like 10x developer who's just incredibly gifted and he's a savant, but don't try communicate with him because he doesn't like people. Hey, Adrian, just thought we'd say there's going to be an engineering meeting, maybe midday today. Can't speak, working. So what are you working on exactly? You wouldn't understand. You might want to document some of the features that you've been building. Just come back in like 2 weeks and I'll have it done, okay? Should probably. Don't they understand? I work better alone. Okay then. That guy's not a good developer. That guy is good at writing software for himself. But he will not change the world on his own. He needs a team around him. Just look at this. You're on YouTube. You're watching this on YouTube right now. YouTube was not built by one guy or one girl. YouTube was built by thousands and thousands of engineers at YouTube and Google. The experience on YouTube, the second biggest website in the world, is as good as it is today because of the work of thousands of engineers, not one person. So if you think you're going to change the world and you're going to make the next YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Tesla or SpaceX or any company that you can think of, those companies were not built by a single person. Yes, in a lot of cases, like with SpaceX, for example, with Elon Musk, you can attribute a lot of their success to Elon Musk's vision. But his vision is worthless if one, he can't communicate that idea and vision to other people, and two, he doesn't have the workforce around him to enable him to build at the scale that he wants to. So Elon may be the core visionary behind SpaceX, but he's only got as far as he's got because he's able to communicate ideas effectively and has a team around him to manifest those ideas into being. So just remove the idea from your head that there is this mythical, savant, introverted, 10x developer who just sits in a corner and codes, because that guy is not changing the world anytime soon. If you're going to build something to change the world, if you're going to build something huge, you need to be a good communicator. You need to be able to articulate your ideas, and if you can't articulate your ideas, you just don't have any ideas. So let me know if you agree with that, or maybe you disagree. Let me know in the comments, and I'm sure we can have a good discussion. If you have anything to add, let me know that as well. If you liked the video, big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, bell notification, all of that good stuff. And if you really like what I'm doing, I do have a Patreon, so you can check that out to support the content I create. But until next time, stay hungry and keep coding. Only I can understand what's going on. I designed this entire system.